Yo, this B-Boy Rich.
I'm DJ Butter, y'all.
And this Funky Fresh in the Flesh podcast. We got a special guest in the house
very
today.
Special, man. For real.
Kaos from Kaos and Mystro.
Yes,
What's going on with you, sir?
What's happening, good brother? Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Butter in the building. Appreciate you, man.
For real legend right here, man.
Yeah.
Man, God is good. God is good.
Oh, yeah. Looking good, too, man. I wanted to ask you, because you was mentioning Brightmoor earlier, but coming up, we always know you from being from HP.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
140603rd.
Oh, yeah?
Gabriel's. Yeah.
That's what's up.
But 15719 Vaughn, that was my mom's house.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
all right.
I grew up in three neighborhoods concurrently. You know, 15719 Vaughn, 503 Horton, which I wound up moving back to the north end.
Right.
And I just recently moved from there, but that's my hood. And then of course 14063rd, HP. So I lived in HP. Right. When I was younger, I lived in Brightmoor. Right. Went to Bird Elementary, and then Murphy Middle School. Okay. And for high school though, I moved to Highland Park with my dad. You know. Right. So then then my grandparents always stayed on North End. So I was there every weekend. You know, when we wasn't in the streets. You know, in our neighborhoods. You know, so I rotated between those three neighborhoods.
All right. You was able to navigate HP and the North End.
Oh, man, for sure. I loved it. I had homies everywhere. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we HP, product of HP.
Yeah, for sure. I graduated from Highland Park in 1989. Yeah, man. HP for life. Yep.
You gave us all something to be proud of. We said I'm from the park on the mission to drop off. We stood tall on that.
Yep.
Every time that was on.
I did say that, didn't I?
Yep, LEL, we here, man. We got Chaos right here.
For sure.
So, who was some of your influences coming up?
Was Chuck D.
Right.
You know my thing, was conscious hip hop.
Right.
Even though we didn't necessarily always live a conscious life. You know what I mean? But my influences was Chuck D. Of course, KRS One. Right. You know what I'm saying? Run DMC. Of course, right? But Chuck D, man, probably was Chuck D for me, man. He was just, that's the first time I ever really heard a grown man. You got to realize Chuck D was the first. Him and Rakim were the first grown men voices, right? That we really heard in hip hop, right? You know what I'm saying? Other than Curtis Blow, as far as old school, right? But Chuck D and Rakim, they were grown men voices with a very innovative, ahead of its time style. Right. To this day, you haven't heard anybody rhyme like Chuck D. Right. Think about it. To this day, you haven't heard anybody with a cadence like Chuck. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. Same thing Rakim. Really, a couple cats tried that flow. Right. But can't nobody do it like Rakim. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But you haven't even heard anyone mimic Chuck D. Right. Chuck D was man. That was my guy right there. Yeah. I know him personally too. You know what I'm saying? So once I got to meet him, it was even more love and respect. Once I understood his story and who he was, his grandparents stayed on Orleans and 7 Mile. Yeah. When he would come in town, we used to take him to his grandparents and say, "Man, I'm gonna see my grandma." Over on Orleans and 7 Mile. Wow. You know what I mean? Yep.
Yeah, it was amazing, man, to see you, in the video and seeing you with Chuck D. At times, and then you had everybody wanting to get the African medallions. Back then.
In Detroit, we was one of the first. In Detroit, we was really the first. Even though back then a lot of hip hop was conscious, right? Because that's when the tension was really created in the industry between the gangster rap and the conscious community. You know, but really before Ice-T and NWA, you know what I'm saying, it was mostly conscious and just lyrical rap. Right. Where cats was really trying to be sweet. It mattered to have strong lyrical content. Right. You had that element. That was the artsy arts, hip hop type cats, right? And then you had the conscious community. Right. And then, but when Two Live Crew came with the freak shit, and then NWA came with the gangster shit, and Ice-T 6 in the morning, police at my door. That kind of changed the industry. Right. But it was really conscious hip hop was what I took hold to, and I wanted to reflect that in all of my being. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You really you did all that stuff in high school, right?
Yeah. It was in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, I started rapping, man, and it was early 80s, man. I started rapping. When I first saw Run DMC, I picked up the mic. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like a lot of us, I'm like, man, I can see the beautiful thing about hip hop. It was really the first art form that was accessible and tangible to the average brother or sister, even if they didn't have the traditional artistic musical skills. Right? Everybody can rap.
Right. Yeah.
So now that has hurt the culture a little bit now, because you got everybody rapping.
Right.
Then with the technology allowing cats to plug in, you really don't even have to have, the same skill level we had to have when you first got in the game, because cats can just plug and play. You can record at your crib. You can slice and dice.
Right.
So it's a little different. It's access to everybody was its greatest benefit, and also to its greatest detriment.
Right. Because you didn't need like vocal training and all of that to be a singer or know how to play instruments. You just need to know how to rap and probably scratch what you practice at. But
it was something that anybody could do.
Right.
Now you had some cats, who were more gifted than others, because rap requires a level of, intellectual acuity. Right. Then it requires a level of discipline if you want to be great at it.
Right.
So if a cat was brilliant, right, then that's gonna be reflected in his rhymes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If a cat was disciplined, then that'll be reflected in his delivery. Right? Because he practiced. That's what made Pac so extraordinary, is that he rapped all day, every day. He wrote all day, every day. He was in the studio. He was a studio rat. He was like Pac was to the studio like Kobe was to basketball.
Right.
Pac was in the studio like Kobe was in the gym.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you had that discipline and if you had that mind, you had an opportunity to be exceptional.
Right.
See, your energy to the game, man. I think like when you stopped making records, like Detroit changed. Like when y'all were in the in the making of building a culture, with who you are. Just it was, we had something to stand for. It was like the fatherless child was listening.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you really captured that. With cats that was just hurting, coming up in Highland Park and just hearing you saying certain things about HP and stuff. Just talk about that, man. How you feel like you were like our Malcolm X in a lot of ways.
Man, I really I appreciate that, and like I was telling you brothers earlier, to this day I still I can't really grasp how beautiful brothers like you all articulate to me the kind of impact we had on the culture here in Detroit. Like I've never paused to even really think about it.
Right.
I was so inebriated, by our desire to be good at what we were doing, and I was so entrenched in it, I never even stopped to pause to really think about impact. I mean, every time I hear brothers like you say that to me, I'm like,
I'm dropping a tear just thinking about it, man.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I never thought about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you, it's funny, brother. But I appreciate you sharing that with me, man. I'm so humbled. I'm very humbled and grateful. I'm humbled and grateful. And Brother Sterling said something to me one time. He said, "Man," he said, "Brother, that's when we was doing the thing with Ant Live, right? We put together another group, and he said, brother, you changed my life." Right. I said, man, what you talking about? He's like, man, you changed my life. He said, man, it's because of you that I'm a virgin now. Yeah. This is a grown man. He was saying our music made him respect women in such a way.
Right.
That he was a grown man now. Telling other grown men that he didn't want to violate his sister in no way.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because of the consciousness of our music.
Right.
When I heard that brother say that to me, I teared up.
Yeah. Right.
I'm like, man, I had no idea that we had that kind of impact. I had no idea that music really could have that kind of impact on the person to make them want to change. He said, it was because of my music he started studying. He started reading about black people and black struggle. The album cover, the one 12 12-inch cover when I had Dr. Ben, and I think I had Dr. Ben. I had John Jackson books, stacked up, in the on the album cover.
Right.
And I was reading John Jackson's book. I had it in my hand. He said, man, that changed my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to hear you say that, Brother Butter, I'm just humbled. I'm thankful to God. Because people don't have to appreciate you.
Right.
Right. So when someone appreciates you, that's humbling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Especially another man.
Right.
To see this man, this beautiful brother, crying over the impact that our music had on you is very humbling.
Right. It was that balance, man, because
thank you, brother. Thank you for that. Thank you for this moment.
You know how you would hear, so we talked about it earlier, like the fatherless homes, right? Mm-hmm. So to us, rap was like, that was our preachers, that was our, our father influence.
Right.
So it was like, that balance was needed. So you would hear Q and Chuck D on the record, right? So you get that balance. But like, that's like when I heard Eyes of a Blind Man with you and Dice.
Right.
It was that balance, right?
Yeah.
And it was because of y'all, what was it, Shrine of the Black Madonna.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about it until I seen y'all. I think y'all had posted something, or it was a video y'all talking about.
No. We did a video.
Yeah.
Timeless Inside of Chaos was shot in the Shrine of the Black Madonna.
Right.
I think we was the first ones, the only ones to ever shoot a video in the Shrine. Definitely was the first.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That was a powerful. I forgot about that joint we did with Dice, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because it was a different spin. Of course, we was listening to Dice from, he had the.
That was on his album, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I gotta go pull that. I haven't heard that in years.
Yep. That was impactful because I'm listening to the whole album, turned up, and then I heard your verse, and I was like, okay, this is the balance.
Yeah.
We need it, and it reminded me of that Q Chuck D feel.
One of them tracks on there on Dice's the Dice album to me is a classic.
Yeah.
I mean, production wise,
right?
What Mystro did, with Dice album,
right?
That was a glimpse of what our next album would have sounded like.
Wow.
Right. So imagine Dice album.
Right.
Right. It was edgier. Right. With conscious lyrics. Right. And then I had evolved so much lyrically. So my next album, it was done. Actually, we had completed it.
Right.
It was called Still Flexing.
Okay.
That was the name of the album, Still Flexing. And it was, man, bro, we're gonna try it. I'm gonna try to get this stuff. I'm gonna if I can get, I think Jason still got the reels, right? Back then, we had reels and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I think Jason may have the reels of the tapes, but if I get, I would just release that for free, man.
Right.
Because the album was so conscious, man. We had a song called "Payback in Alabama."
Yeah.
We was talking about fighting the Klan.
Right.
And we was going down there. The song was about going down to an HBCU to see our kids, and we got into a beef with the Klan. Right. Wow. I had a whole song called "Payback in Alabama." Right. And then we had another song on there, man. Of course, "Still Flexing" was dope. That was the dopest song on the album. That was gonna be the single.
Okay.
And then of course, the idea, like you remember, "A Call for Revolutionary" was an example of what the next album would have been.
Okay.
That song really was meant for the second album.
Okay.
Call for Revolutionary, right?
Right.
So yeah, that whole album, that album was gonna be so radical. We had a song on there called "If You Was a Gangster, You Wouldn't Be a Rapping."
Right.
If you was a gangster, you wouldn't be rapping.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we had stuff like, we was coming at the culture hard.
Right.
We really was coming after that gangster rap culture.
Okay.
Because we thought they was a bunch of suckers who really wasn't doing no gangster stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yeah, man, it was that's a blessing. Dice is dope. That's my guy. Yeah, he was dope. He represented it. He represented our company well because his product was quality. He had man skills. But content wise we were different.
Right.
But our energy was very similar.
Right.
You know what I mean? And musically, that was our DJ. That was my DJ. That was his producer. You know what I'm saying? So Dice stuff sounded a lot like our stuff would have sounded on the second album. Yeah.
Y'all did all that stuff with no curse words and all that.
Yeah, no, but I was gonna be cursing a little bit on the second album though. But it would have been like within the context of conscious and stuff. It wasn't gonna be no bitches, no hoes, no all that stuff, no look my dick, none of that, right? I'm saying, but it'd been some, righteous indignation type cussing. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit.
I like how you phrased that.
Yeah, because let me tell you why we didn't curse. Like, I never, even though in real life we cursed, right? But I just had a thing about my grandparents being embarrassed, by me putting out some raunchy, disrespectful music.
Right.
I just, I could just hear my grandmother like, man, son, what you doing? You know better than that. You don't do that. I go back when we was in the streets back then. There was rules in the streets. There was rules in the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even if you was a money getting cat, right, and if you was hustling on the corner, when Miss Johnson or Miss Harris or Miss Jones walked by, man, you put your dope up, put your guns up, took your hat off, hid your brew. Remember we used to put the brew on the ground, stand in front of the brew because we didn't want to go back and tell our people, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm saying there was rules to the game. You didn't shoot at no kids, wasn't no shooting at no schools. You ain't violate no sisters, you know what I'm saying? Not in that way. You definitely didn't violate no elders.
Right.
It was rules. It was rules to the game. I remember smoking weed out in front of the liquor stores, with the homies and stuff. And when the elders come in, we put the weed up, put our hat on straight, man. I had the drink, open the door.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. That's the kind of stuff. It was rules to it. Right. So there was rules to hip hop. Right. Hip hop being street music, coming out of the streets, it was rules to it. So that's why a lot of your earlier artists, we didn't curse. And then my examples, Chuck D didn't curse, LL didn't curse.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody cursed really.
Right.
Until NWA, Ice-T, really NWA, and Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker really
they turned it out.
No, they really crossed the line.
Yeah.
They changed the culture.
Right.
Them and NWA, they completely changed the culture.
Right. Ice-T wasn't really cussing like that on his first album. No. Not as it wasn't a whole lot of cussing like that.
He really wasn't there.
Well, that was class.
It wasn't really Ice-T, but it was NWA and Luke Skywalker. And two live crew.
Yeah. Hey, y'all forgive me, my nose running, man. We got Kaos in the house, man. This is a real legend right here.
Hey, tell me this. So I remember y'all, one of the things we think about, like back with that collective of artists, from Los and Easy B, Dice, Amir the Merciless, that whole generation of artists at the time, it seemed like majority of y'all had good quality music.
Right.
What type of pushback were y'all getting from I know y'all was getting played on the radio, y'all videos were showing. What type of pushback were y'all getting from the politics of the music industry?
Well, back then nobody believed that hip hop could come out of Detroit. Okay. Nobody believed that hip hop could come out of the Midwest. That's what made Bone Thugs and Harmony so critical, because Eazy put them on. They was from the Midwest. They was from Cleveland, right? Right. I'm saying, they from Cleveland, right? Yeah, I'm saying so. It was, the politics was, was straight up. Either you had to come from New York or you had to sign. You had to, sign with somebody in New York. Right. You had to come through. You come through New York. Either you had to come from New York or come through New York. Right. You know what I mean? Cass just wasn't. You had the West Coast. You had your exceptions on the West Coast, but. Cass is like, man, can't nothing dope come out of Detroit. So like Jesus, what good thing could come out of Nazareth? You know what I'm saying? Right. So we had to deal with that. We got a record deal. We had a couple of record deal offers, right? But they wanted us to do some shit that wasn't reflective of who we are. Right. They wanted us to be gangsters and all that. We was like, nah, man. Even though in real life, we would go there. I'm saying, but we weren't about to put that image out there on wax. We had people who loved us, who cared about us, and that wasn't none of their business. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we weren't gonna go on a record and be talking about some, no fake gangster shit. You know what I'm saying? No, that wasn't who we were. Right. You know what I'm saying? And we wasn't gonna do that if that was who we were. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because there was rules. Yeah. There were rules to the game. Right. You don't take that and put it out there for public consumption, disrespecting your family, embarrassing your mama, embarrassing your daddy, embarrassing your uncles, embarrassing your grandparents. That was family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, we honored family.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right now in the culture, there's no honor for family. You know, there's little honor in the game. It ain't what it was. Ain't no rules. Everything goes. Hence, drill music.
Right.
Everything goes.
Right.
You feel like the elders kind of got nonchalant with the kids, or I mean, even now it's like it's coming up. Just to like the 2 year difference, the 2-3 year difference from our age compared to yours. It was a huge gap. Just like coming up, like I recall like just like a ninth grade. You know, my homeboy going to ninth grade, and you know him mentioning you know, him seeing you in high school, this, that, blah, blah, blah. You know, the goal was to create a World One Records, and the energy of that.
Right.
You know, it was passed down, you know, like,
right.
You know, before, you know, we had the whole mindset of trying to be that way.
Yeah.
You know, that influence has left.
Those were our heroes, right? So the hip hop artists, they were tangible heroes to us, and they offered us some semblance of escape, right?
Right.
The object then was to get in the rap game, to get out the street game. Now it seemed like it's the other way around. You know, cats take a false thing and make it a real thing. You know, cats get into the hip hop game and get ignorant.
Right.
You know what I mean? They get into the hip hop game and they criminalize the game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's no longer. That's why you got over 75 rappers killed. You know, it's no longer a place of escape. You know, the dream is now a nightmare. Think about it. Cats out here making millions of dollars and you wind up dead because you out here doing some sucker shit.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Really, it's sucker shit.
Right.
Because the object is to escape that life.
Right.
The object is to get resources to transform that reality so your homies, right, can have a better living. Right. For your children can have a better way of life. Right. The object is to provide liberty and freedom and power for people who know not of that. Right. That was the object of getting into the rap game. I'm going to get this money. I'm going to build these relations. I'm going to get this exposure so I can provide opportunities for my people, so I can get my mother and my children, out of those negative situations, right? It was about you got into the game you got into the rap game to improve your conditions as an individual and as a people. Right. Now, the game, it's a reflection of the worst of us. And it's tricking the world into believing that that's a reflection of most of us. But it is not, right? You've taken one particular part of our culture, in many regards, that's the street side. That's the minority of who we are. Right. That represents the minority of who black people are. Most black folks ain't no killers, ain't no drug dealers, ain't no rapists, ain't no trappers, ain't no trap boys. Most of us, we're not that. Right. So what the music has done, because the people who run the business don't give a darn about black people, really. Right. They don't care about positively impacting the lives of black people. Right. They take hold of the most negative elements and they promote it to the world. Yeah. Right?
Do you think the younger artists you mentioned earlier about like Chuck D or Rakim having that grown man like maturity at that age back then, do you think because of the new younger generation not having the fathers around, you think they're kind of having extended adolescence where they're 30 years old, late 20s, and they're still acting as teenagers? Yeah, because they're the ones making the music versus your Chuck D. Because back then, that generation, we looked at all of them as grown men, even though they were 25, 26.
Right. Well, yeah. So number one, a lot of the artists are younger, right? So they do kids do kid stuff, right? A lot of them are younger, and we don't even get the opportunity to see a lot of them grow. They're getting killed off. Right. We don't get the opportunity to see them really mature. Right. Like if you look at Little Baby, when he first came on, look at who he is now. We're getting the opportunity to see him mature as a young man, right? You get an opportunity to see Bobby Shmurda, mature as a young man. You know what I'm saying? And we know he was bona fide about that life. You know, he was bona fide that what he was rapping about. But he has changed his mind and therefore changed his behavior and therefore changed his worldview. Right? And his reality. And you see him now acting different. Right? And he doesn't feel compelled. He's so secure in his masculinity with the exception of the relapse he almost had, right? You know, in regards to with NBA YoungBoy, right? You know, he fell off for a brief second, but he pulled himself back together. I studied the culture. I studied the culture because I love it. You know what I'm saying? I want to know what the young brothers are doing because I can't communicate to you unless I speak your language. That's what communication is, right? If you speak in French. And I'm speaking Spanish, we can't communicate because we don't understand each other. So if I'm trying to talk to a young brother in the community, right, and I'm trying to show him a better way, a new way, right, I have to at least be able to speak his language, right? If I don't speak his language, he can't hear me because what I'm saying does not make sense to him, right? Then once I learn your language, then I can communicate to you my language, right, in your terms, You know, so that's why I still study the culture. You know, but I think to your original point, fatherlessness has really, it's done tremendous harm to our community. But however, I think fatherlessness is also, I think it's overrated. I don't think about it. I don't know a whole bunch of brothers who don't take care of their kids. Y'all probably don't either. When you think about it.
Yeah, you're right.
Where are these fathers at that don't take care of their kids? Now, they may not be, because the data, I'm sorry, Brother Butter, the data is a reflection of fathers not in the home and not married. It's not a reflection of fathers being active participants in their children's lives. Right? You know, so, but there's definitely a fatherless issue, don't get me wrong. You know, but I don't think it's as bad as what they say. But I think that coupled with drugs in our community, coupled with a ridiculous amount of guns that are made readily accessible to young people, right? I think all of those things have directly contributed to the negative realities within our community. But let's be clear. The negative stuff we see is not the dominant reality. It is what the hegemonic group, right, or white supremacists choose to present as the dominant reality for black people. But it's not the dominant reality. It's what they choose to present. They choose to dominate media and all these different mediums of communication with that negativity. You know, because negativity, violence, sex, right? It's sexy. It's attractive. And it sells, but it sells primarily to white girls. The number one consumer of hip hop music is white girls and boys. Think about it.
Yeah, you're right.
They buy more of our music than we do. What it is. So who do you think then? The owners, the handlers of the industry. Who do you think they are selling? Who they're marketing that stuff to and for? Who's going to buy it? They don't realize they're doing damage to themselves as well. Because now you're making heroes out of the negative element from our community, and it's starting to impact their community. And you see it with the opioid crisis, right? You starting to see them do some silly stuff, right? Trying to be black. Failing to realize that, you know, King Von and Lil Durk, that's just one aspect. The NBA YoungBoy, that's just that's a small aspect of the black reality. But that's who they're mimicking. You know what I'm saying? You know, so it's a bunch of things. You know, and then when you look at the fact that hip hop is born out of urban centers, and you look at between 1945 and the 1980s, you have manufacturing companies leaving urban centers en masse, especially in the midwestern portion of the country, right? You know, you start seeing manufacturing companies move outside of the city into suburban areas where they then can create in new communities.
Right.
So when you remove the economic base from any community, especially any city, what do you have left? You have poverty. Then when you have poverty left behind as a result of joblessness, and then you put drugs and guns in the mix, right? What do you have?
Yeah. And then drugs become the new economy.
Then drugs become the new economy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even with that, we still survive. That still ain't dominant, but it is a significant contributor to our reality. Because most of the crimes are only committed by, less than 5% of the population, right?
Right.
I'm saying, but if that 5% is horrific,
and that's what you promote.
And they scandalous.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you not to cut you off?
You good.
Do you realize sometimes like the influencers that do you kind of see that the influencers kind of will, or the main influencers like yourself, Chuck D, KRS-One, and Poor Righteous Teachers, like it seemed like at one time, like those albums was stopped at all,
that was intentional
across the board.
Think about it. I want you guys to really think about it. Do this research. Look at when you saw urban school districts throughout the country being taken over by the state. Look at specifically the city of Detroit, right? You look at 1994, roughly. Yeah. That's when they came in. The state came in and took over Detroit public school system. One of the first things that was a casualty of that takeover was the destruction or the deterioration of African-centered education. When you look at Poor Righteous Teachers, X-Clan, Chuck D, KRS-One, that was conscious hip-hop. We were conscious. We were being fed conscious music. We were being fed conscious music because you have folks coming out of educational settings and environments that were instilling consciousness and embedding consciousness into our minds. Right, so then you have music that's reflecting that indoctrination.
Right.
So what do you do when you want to destroy your people? The first thing you do is go after its culture. The way you go after their culture is by going after the minds and hearts of the people, right? And that's why they went after African-centered education. So what you see a dismantling of African-centered education, the public school system, and then concurrent to that, or as a consequence of that, you then see them go after the conscious hip hop.
Right.
They just stopped making those. It's not that those records weren't attractive to our people. You stop feeding our people that. If your people are starving, they'll eat garbage.
Y'all music is still so important, man.
Yeah, it is. It's very critical. But the reality is, the major record companies were not promoting, and we didn't have these mechanisms we got now. We can put our own stuff out, right? We didn't have a YouTube. We didn't have a Facebook or Instagram. We were dependent upon these record companies and their distribution networks, right? So they intentionally targeted conscious hip hop, and they destroyed it, and they made the options music that was destructive and counter-revolutionary.
One of the biggest lies I heard in hip hop was that the conscious music wasn't selling, and when you go back and you look at X-Clan record sales, Chuck D, the whole Public Enemy catalog, KRS-One, even Paris, with I think he was going gold or platinum back then. So it's like the music was selling because the music was good. And
it was dope.
I think they tried to say that it wasn't selling.
Because when you say
reason to take it away.
Because then when you say it's not selling and people are getting hip hop to feed their family, then why would I make something that doesn't sell?
Exactly.
So then they make what sells. So what sells is what they promote.
Right.
I mean, think about it. I mean, even at the height of the conscious era, you didn't hear PE a whole lot on the radio. I mean, you heard them more earlier in their careers. I'm saying, but you just didn't hear. You just, they just the radio stations were owned by major corporations who really had no major interest in that, mainly because it's just a theory of mine, because they saw the impact socially on our communities from the conscious music to the conscious education, and it was building consciousness. KRS-One called it nation consciousness. It was building nation consciousness in our people, and you began to see us respond to that.
Right.
A lot of what you see right now in the Black Lives Matter movement, I tell people all the time, oh man, that was from the 90s. And the 90s was the 60s flipped upside down. I said the 90s was really was the second Black Power movement. You know what I'm saying? You know, actually the third or fourth, but I'm saying, but the 90s was what Black Power was in the African Center movement. That was the 90s. That's what Black Power was in the late 60s.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just think about how conscious we were in the 90s. Bensonhurst, Daytona Beach. You saw all kind of rebellions popping up all throughout the Rodney King, right? You saw Black people reacting to the terror being brought upon them by the police state, by white supremacy. You saw us responding to the devastating impact of Reaganomics, right? You saw this, right? And we started really building intellectual and political and social, capital. And I firmly believe that the white racist power structure had no interest in that. The oppressor never wants to see the oppressed be free, right? So when they can control the means of communication, this is what happens to you, right? This is what happens. So they straight out attacked. You saw Griffin them. You saw what happened to PE. They started attacking conscious hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we were no longer attractive. And they started promoting what? Of all things, what they started promoting? They started promoting NWA.
Yeah.
Right? Two Live Crew. They started promoting. That stuff was all over MTV. Think about it.
Yeah.
It was all over the place. Right? They were willing to contaminate their own children.
Right.
Just to destroy our consciousness.
Right.
And they promoted negative. And now it's out of control. Now they can't control it. Now we have mechanisms we can promote our own stuff and make our own stuff without depending upon their network. Now it's out of it's a monster that can't be tamed.
Right.
What we have to do as a hip hop community, especially the conscious, we have to begin to make our own music again and use those same instruments and tools that the negative hip hop community is using, or the street hip hop community is using. We have to use those same kinds of tools with that same kind of energy to promote positive hip hop. But even that would be hard to do because we still first have to win the hearts and minds of your people. If you're going to transform a culture, right, or transform the conditions of your people, you first got to win their hearts and minds. And you do that with righteous education, right? With liberation education, right? So even though we can put a whole bunch of righteous stuff out here, but if the people don't have an appetite for it, they won't eat it. You know what I'm saying? How do you produce that kind of appetite? You got to feed them healthy foods young. That's how you produce that in a child. I like apples and peaches now because my mama gave it to me as a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all always find a way to put the medicine in the candy. You know what I'm saying? Just even the tough guy approach, but it was a message still.
That was intentional.
The whole the whole imagery of it. Tell us about the time you was performing for Nelson Mandela.
Oh man, much love and respect to my pastor, Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony. He really was the architect of that. He's such a humble. I don't think to this day he really admits it, but I know it. You know what I mean? I mean, he because he was a part of the international committee of leaders, part of the Detroit delegation that brought Mandela to Detroit. I think he first went to New York, then he came to Detroit. I think I was the second rapper to perform for Nelson Mandela. So yeah, that was a powerful moment. Much respect to Dr. Wendell Anthony, President of Detroit branch, NAACP, the largest, biggest, boldest, blackest NAACP branch in the world, pastor Fellowship Chapel, right? Mm-hmm. And he did that because he had an affinity and respect and love for hip hop, and I was one of his parishioners and one of his students and mentees. So of course, he saw that my music was good medicine for the people, good food for the people, because he put good medicine and food in me, right? So yeah, he was a big part of making sure I got that opportunity. So much respect, Rev. You know what I'm saying? But that moment was magical, man. And what I appreciate most, because of my mentors are Kwame Kenyatta, the late great Kwame Kenyatta, Chokwe Lumumba, Kwame Atta, Dr. Gloria House, they call her Mama in there, right? Dr. Earl Henderson, Clementine Barfield. These people, had such a profound impact on my life that after we performed, after we did our set for Mandela at Tiger Stadium, you could hear me. If you can ever find a video of that, you can hear me yelling out names of political prisoners. You know what I'm saying? I was saying that, yeah, we got one that's free, but we still got political prisoners. Ramona, John Africa, at that time, Geronimo Pratt, Deruba Ben Wahad. I'm yelling these names out before hundreds of thousands of people, millions watching. And Jesse, I remember when I saw a retake of it, Jesse Jackson was saying, see, these are the kind of young men, and this is the kind of music. See, this is the kind of spirit, and he was talking about, the political statements we were making while doing the music. And I'm so, that was one of my proudest moments, being able to seize the moment. Like my pastor says, take advantage of the opportunity. Take advantage of the opportunity of a lifetime within the lifetime of the opportunity. Right? So I took advantage of that opportunity of a lifetime, in the lifetime of that opportunity to bring awareness to the world about the political prisoners we had right here in this country. So that was really my proud, other than just straight performing, that was my proudest moment.
So when we were saying earlier, and you were saying like you didn't know your impact on everybody, man, just to see that happen, you know what I'm saying? And not only, it's one thing to see a rapper get that opportunity, right? But somebody from your hometown get that opportunity, you know what I'm saying, that the entire world was watching. I seen you at the State Theater too, you know what I'm saying, with Breed.
Yeah.
But that was different, you know what I'm saying?
Mandela
so it's
not many people can say they did that.
Not many people at all. I don't care what level artist you is. Not many people could say they did that.
Yeah, that was powerful. Another powerful one. We performed for the National Parent Teachers Association at the Silverdome too. That was powerful too. But this right here was otherworldly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this right here was otherworldly.
You got those tapes and all that stuff, man.
Nah, man, we weren't thinking about that back then. I mean, I'm sure somebody got Mandela.
Yeah.
I think you should be able to find that on YouTube.
Right.
I think they might just have his speech though.
Okay.
I don't know if they got the performances.
Somebody probably got it somewhere.
Somebody got it somewhere.
We'll dig it up.
Yeah, but that was thank you for bringing that up, Brother Butter. But that was that was a powerful.
Because it's like you got Motown, the car factories. Hip hop is not convincing till we got stuff like that happen.
Yeah.
Right.
That was
the streets. You know what I'm saying?
That was something we could show our parents and be like,
we know
if they accept hip hop, how come you can't?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that was that one thing we could show our parents and be like, oh, hip hop is something real.
Yeah. That's powerful, man. Like I said, man, I just it's humbling to hear you brothers talk about it.
Yeah.
It's very humbling, man. And I thank you so much, Brother Butter, for sharing that moment of fragility and that moment of transparency and honesty, because black people, black men need to see other black men cry. Right. Cry in situations other than their homie being killed.
Yeah,
Right. They need to see brothers crying because they're celebrating other brothers, or they're celebrating the way a brother impacted their life and made them feel.
Yeah.
Right.
So that brother, I'm trying to hold back tears right now just so I can get these stories out. Get these words out.
We was in the fire when you came out, for real.
Right, man. I appreciate you, man.
Fire.
I appreciate you, man. And we wanted to have an impact. That's why we made the kind of music we made.
Right.
We just didn't really know, because we didn't have the mirror that we have now, the mirror being Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can see. Yeah. You can see what you're doing now. Right. You know the impact. You see the likes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So you see the immediate impact. We had no idea, unless we get the privilege like this one to hear someone like you share that with us. We don't know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
somebody was saying what They had seen you. I think you was doing something with the city or something, and then later on, one of my friends was asking me. They was like, "Jason, he used to be in a rap group," and I'm like, "Yeah." And they were just looking at it like, okay, they turned their life around. I'm like, no, these brothers been solid this. So none of it surprised.
We did turn our life around though.
Well, I'm saying from us knowing the message y'all was portraying, it didn't surprise us that what y'all are about now.
No, right? we were conscious for sure. Yeah. You know, it was never sweet to us, especially me. It was never sweet being stupid. I ain't never thought that was fly. Yeah. That wasn't never gangster to me. It was, was being stupid was some sucker shit. Right. Really. I mean, it was never fly to me to be ignorant and dumb. You know what I mean? I never wanted, especially my enemy. Right. I never wanted my enemy to be smarter than me. Right. You know what I'm saying? What part of the game is that? Right. You know what I mean? So it was always fly to me to be smart, to be real rare, to be learning. Yeah. I don't know where we get off making stupidity fly. Right. That ain't never been sweet. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I can't remember the bar you said, but it was something I'm imputing honor roll student or something you said in a rap, but it was like the way you said it.
Honor roll student.
Yeah. But it was like, I'm hard, but I'm still on honor roll. I'm hard and smart at the same time.
See, that's what I saw though. Right. See, I saw the Earl Hendersons, who grew up in the Brewster Projects. Right. I saw him, check cats. Right. You know what I'm saying? I saw the way he moved. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no sucker in him. Right. You know what I mean? I saw Kwame Kenyatta. Was a hard cat. Right. You know what I mean? But he had a soft heart for his people. Right. But it wasn't no punk in him. Right. Chokwe Lumumba was a tough cat. Right. You know what I'm saying? I had the privilege of coming up around and being exposed to revolutionaries. You know what I mean? Folks who have no problem taking the enemy's life for the liberation of their people. Right. They just wasn't taking other black people's life. Right. But they would get at you if you were bringing harm to black people. I come up seeing black people defend black people from white supremacists. Right. You know what I mean? I come up around folks who did this. I've had the opportunity to witness this. I've had the opportunity to hear these stories, right? So being hard and being conscious made sense to me. Right. Minister Malcolm was hard, but he was conscious. Right. So it's not a crime, like Minister Malcolm says, it's not a crime to have been a criminal, it's a crime to remain a criminal. You know what I mean? And how come being hard can't mean taking care of your family, respecting your woman, taking care of your kids, respecting your elder, cleaning up your community, making sure you ain't got no abandoned houses next to you. If they are abandoned, make sure they boarded up. Cutting the grass so little black girls don't get thrown in the grass and raped and violated. They don't get snatched up in the house on their way to school at 6 o'clock in the morning and get violated by the neighborhood, drug addict. Right. You know what I'm saying? How is that not hard? Making sure your children get back and forth from school safely and travel back and forth to and from school safely, making sure your parents feel protected while sitting on the front porch at 11 o'clock at night, making sure the sisters can go to the gas station and not get carjacked or violated or raped or snatched up. How is that, you know what I mean, not strong. Right. That's what I love about my little brother Zeke. Yeah, and what New Era Detroit is doing. You know what I mean? I call him General. Yeah. I'm so happy. I'm happy that brother is out there holding down the front line. Right. You know what I mean? I'm 51. I'm an old head now. Right. I'm happy to see the younger brothers. He's a grown man for sure. He's a father. He's an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? And he out here putting in work for the people. Brother Negus Boot. He a father. You know what I'm saying? An entrepreneur. Has built an organization doing outstanding work in the city. Right. Putting in work for the people. I'm proud of these brothers. You know what I'm saying? Brother Zoe over on Joy Road. Old school, he was an old, OG. Went to penitentiary, came home. Now he transforming the lives of young people over on Joy Road. Same thing with Ray Winans, what he doing over in the 9th precinct, over in the 05 in the red zone. Yep. He's an old school, original OG headbanger. Right. Now he over there doing good work with SMB and with at the 4-2 Warren Cast, trying to keep the peace over there, trying to show the brothers another way, trying to give them an opportunity. Right. I respect that. You know what I'm saying? Brothers who learn that being hard and strong is defending and protecting our people. You know what I mean? And creating safe and peaceful spaces in our community. That's what it means really for a black man to be hard and strong. How safe is your community, homie?
Right.
You know what I mean? If your community ain't safe, you ain't strong and hard. Right. You's a sucker.
Totally right.
You know what I'm saying? If your mama can't go back and forth to the stove, right? If she can't sit on the porch. I heard a sister, elderly sister told me this a couple years ago. She said, Brother Teferi, when we used to see black men coming down the street as women, we felt safe and protected when we would get off the bus late at night coming home from school. Like, they were going to night school. They were coming home from work, and they would get off the bus. When they would see a black man 20 years ago, they would feel safe and protected.
Right.
She said, nah, we see y'all coming. We scared to death. We run the other way.
Right.
How are you hard? How are you strong? How are you tough? When the most vulnerable in our community don't feel safe. You know what I'm saying? When the anchor and the foundation of the black family, which is the black woman, does not feel safe.
Right.
Our children don't feel safe. You know what I'm saying? And I cannot support no art form that doesn't speak to that end and that's conveying or communicating a message contrary to that. Because that is the way we deserve to live as God's creation. We deserve to live in a peaceful, just society. And we damn sure should not be the reason why we don't live in a peaceful, just society. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I want to, you brought up something earlier before we start recording. It's a little bit changing the subject. But you said you was in a group with Ant Live, Fat Father, and who else?
There's a couple other cats, man. Ant Live, Fat Father, Brother Sterling.
Man.
It's another cat. Cause,
what was the name of the group?
Father, he had it's called Foundation. He had a partner, man, who was cold. Oh, I can't think of that brother's name. He's another big brother.
Okay.
He was cold blooded.
Right.
And they was cold though, but we was all a collective. Okay. So everybody had their own groups, right?
Right.
But the foundation was all of us together. Okay. And I think we completed the whole album, man. I mean, if you give it Ant Live, give it Ant Singleton.
Okay.
I think he may have some of that old stuff.
All right.
And what's up, family, man? Much love and respect to you, man. We're praying for you, bro. We're praying for you, man. We know you lost your son, man, but you never leave our prayers and our hearts and our spirits, man. We stand with you, brother. You know, but Ant was a monster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Ant
still is.
Man, savage. You know what I mean? He was a savage. You know, and he'd get behind them boys, put together a dope track, then get behind that mic and spit a dope rhyme too.
Right.
Yep. Multi-talented.
Multi-talented, man. But we had a group called The Foundation. We got pictures. Ant probably got all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, we got pictures and all kind of stuff, man.
What was this, like the late 90s, early 2000s or something?
I don't know. Ant would know better than me. But it had to have been it had to have been maybe early mid 90s. I don't know, man. But we was dope, man.
Man, your fans were fiending to hear something else from
man, this is that joint right here.
That's straight from Chantilly.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Brother Jason, Jason Wilson's doing such phenomenal work right now with the Cave of Adullam. He got 2 books out. I think Real Man Cry and The Battle Within. Go buy Brother Jason Wilson's books on Amazon. He's doing great ministerial work. He got the Cave of Adullam, which is a mentoring rites of passage male development program for young black boys.
Right.
Young boys period, but his focus is mainly African American boys because he lives in the African American community. But he shares it with the world.
Right.
But he teaches them Christian principles and martial arts.
Right.
The brother got his own school, man, over right down the street from Focus Hope, man. And the brother, that's my brother who I love profoundly. I'm sure when he sees this, he'll love to see you, expressing yourself, like that. But the brother, man, is I'm so proud of him.
Right.
And I could talk about him all day. I'd rather talk about him than me. You know what I mean, man? He is what he's doing is he's changing the world, man, one boy at a time.
Right. And
the brother is I'm so now that makes me cry. You know what I'm saying? Then to see the brother, he's a father.
Right.
He's an entrepreneur.
Right.
He's a husband.
Yeah.
He's been successful at everything that he's done. And it's mainly because, and he would say solely because, of his relationship with the Most High.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He is a seriously righteous man. He's a holy man, but he's not a judgmental brother.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He loves the Lord and he expresses God in all that he does, but he prides himself on just being a regular brother. You know what I mean? And I'm so proud of the work that Brother Jason is doing, man.
Right.
And he supports me too in all that I do. Okay. You know, he's very supportive, man. But go check out the Cave of Adullam documentary on ESPN. Yeah.
Man, thanks again, man. We got Kaos in the house, aka tell them your name.
Teferi, yeah, a lot of people know the aka Teferi Brent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
This is the milestone of Detroit hip hop for real, man. Y'all make sure y'all check out that Kaos and Mystro debut album for y'all. Google that, man, for real, right. Man. This is the real foundation of Detroit hip hop right here, man, for real.
Much love and respect, brother, man. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, King. Yes,
right.
sir.
Peace out, Funky Fresh in the Flesh.
Fresh in the Flesh.